Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of Unscripted Reviews. This is a show where I don't have a script and it's totally off the dome and I review movies, which is obvious by the title, I'm telling you that. Anyway, today's episode is all about No, it's not Batman vs Superman. Sorry, it's all about Justice League. I just got out of the cinema of watching it, which is why the lighting's really bad, because it's night time, it's like 11 PM. And I gotta say, it was rather surprising. This is coming from a guy who did not like Batman vs Superman whatsoever. I was on Man of Steel and really liked Wonder Woman. Don't get me started on Suicide Squad. But it seems like DC might be on a roll now, because this one was actually surprisingly good. Now, it's not great, the movie isn't without its flaws, but as someone who's coming in with pretty low expectations, I had a pretty pleasant time. With all the speculation that you heard about the movie, like Zack Snyder coming off the project, Joss Whedon coming in, there were bunches of reshoots, Ben Affleck isn't apparently happy in the role. It came together pretty well, and no, that is not a pun on the song that was used in some of the trailers and the end credits to Come Together song. I wish it was, that's a joke I normally come up with. So once again, Ben Affleck is one of my favourite parts of this movie. He's without a doubt my favourite Batman and my favourite Bruce Wayne, and there are parts of this movie that just make me, I can't wait for the standalone Batman movie. And that's if Ben Affleck still does it. But once again, he's a really down-to-earth Bruce Wayne who actually cracks a few more jokes than he did in the last movie he was in. However, none of them fall short, which I do feel like is probably Joss Whedon's doing. One thing I did notice about this movie is some of the gags are recycled from some of Joss Whedon's older movies. However, they still don't fall flat and have a good spin on them at the same time. My biggest surprise though going into this movie wasn't the fact that it was good. It was the fact that Ezra Miller's Flash was good. Watching all of the trailers and stuff like that, I was like, I can tell this kid is going to be nothing but annoying. He's just going to be comedic relief the entire time.
Oh, awesome. As a bat signal, that's your... Oh, sorry. That's your signal. That means we have to go now.
Yeah, that's what that means.
And that's not to say he wasn't, but it actually somehow didn't fall flat like it does in the trailer. He was actually charming and somewhat relatable. Some of the awkwardness and things he says and things he does as a superhero, I feel is something that the viewer would do if they were in his shoes, which I thought was really awesome and gave the movie a bit of relatability that the other ones haven't had. For example, in Batman vs Superman or Man of Steel, you're just looking at these gods just bashing together and going at it. There's nothing to ground it and to latch onto and be like, yeah, that's relatable. So that's what we get with Ezra Miller's character, which I thought was awesome. Moving on from that, Gal Gadot, or how the hell you say that name, I still don't know. My gal, she was awesome. Once again as Wonder Woman, awesome. I feel like she's really got the part nailed down to a T, and you can tell how confident she is in the role. And to be honest, she's probably the star of the movie for me. For something like this, you would expect Batman to be the central compass for the team, but no, everyone's kind of latching on to Wonder Woman for this one, which is a fresh take on the Justice League that I love to see. And then you've got Abs and Tats over here doing his job, looking awesome with abs and tats. Like, goddamn, some of the physiques in this movie just... Jason Momoa as Aquaman was awesome. I mean, before these movies came out, before we saw Jason Momoa in the role, who would have thought that anyone could make Aquaman cool? But no, he's arguably one of the coolest guys in the movie. And once again, watching the trailers, like, that guy's gonna be cringy as... It's gonna be all gross bro... I can't speak today. It's all gonna be gross bro humor, like, oh, I got you, bro, I killed that guy, bro, oh, bro. But no, he's actually pretty cool, sculling whiskey and whatnot. So I love the Fishman. Cyborg was, he's probably my low point of the team. Not to say it's bad, but there just wasn't much going for him. You could tell the movie was alluding to a lot of cool things that could potentially happen to him, and then they didn't happen. Which is something you can say about a lot of the plot of this movie. A lot of the times I thought, oh yeah, the plot's gonna go here, it's gonna do something cool, and then it doesn't. The plot could have gone a lot of cool places, but I think having a weak villain with a vague motivation, with a solution to beat the villain that was also incredibly vague, that holds it back a bit, but at the same time, the simplicity of this movie is its strength. If you look back at Batman vs Superman, you can tell that they tried to do way too many things at once, and it convoluted the whole movie. That was its biggest weakness. You can tell that DC's main takeaway from that experience was to simplify the movie. That's what DC did here. It is also still your cut and dry ensemble take on the big bad guy who wants to take over the world for absolutely no reason movie. If I could liken it to anything, it's probably Avengers 2. Even Avengers 1 actually, but that movie felt fresh at the time because we hadn't seen anything like it, and I think because it's the billionth time we've now seen an ensemble everyone come together movie, and the second time from DC for that matter. It doesn't feel fresh, but that's not to say that it doesn't feel good. There are also some decisions in this movie that you can tell they've learned from other movies, especially Man of Steel, where people had problems with, you know, potentially hundreds of thousands of people dying because of these people just bashing against each other, these two like gods. And you can tell they made some conscious decisions to stray away from that being a talking factor. I'm not going to say what they were, this is a spoiler-free review, but some things just like, See what you did there. There are other huge aspects of the movie that I really want to talk about. One huge talking point, but I feel like it's delving into spoiler territory, which I really don't want to put in this review. So I'll either do a spoiler video or I'll talk about it on our podcast, The Casual Cast. The set pieces of this movie are also fantastic. It's not like the action that you see in Batman vs Superman or Man of Steel. It's just two big things bashing against each other and going flying. The set pieces are actually kind of thought out, especially some ones that are earlier in the movie. I feel like my favorite scene of this movie is fairly early on, just before the halfway point, but that's not to say that the final action act isn't bad. No, is bad. That's not to say the final act is bad. Also, just as a quick side note, I totally forgot to talk about the score. The score wasn't entirely memorable, aside from a few parts where I was definitely buzzing. So with the score, especially parts where it's a Batman-dominated scene, the score, it's mostly original, but it interjects a lot of the Tim Burton Batman score in there. Like, just little bits where you hear it and just like, yeah, this is Batman. It makes me feel even more like I just want a Batman standalone movie. But then there's also John Williams' Superman score interwoven in there a little bit of Batman vs Superman soundtrack. But overall, it's kind of like the Avengers where you're hearing the score and it's not too memorable. And then the credits come on. It's got that Come Together song that I was mentioning before, and like as soon as it comes and you're thinking about how the movie was actually good and you're so happy about it, you just buzz it, just like, come together. And all I can say is I dug it. But to wrap this up, yes, it has all been off the dome. I've just been spouting shit about this movie off as I go. But the way that I'm going to score movies in this review series is I'm going to have the top score with great, the next score with good, the next one with bad, and then the very lowest one is ugly. And if you want a reference of what I think might be an ugly movie, watch Suicide Squad. This movie definitely isn't bad, and I feel like that is probably its greatest strength after coming off the back of a few misses. But I think DC is actually coming onto something great now. Had Wonder Woman come out with a bang, and now we've also had Justice League come out and be really good. Although it does nothing to be great. So this one I'm going to give the score of good. Definitely watch it though. If you're planning on not watching it thinking that DC just doesn't make good movies like I was, still give it a watch. It might just surprise you. Either way, those are my thoughts on Justice League. And if you like this idea of sort of an unscripted, off-the-dome movie review show, give us a subscribe so you know when I upload other ones for other movies. It is something that I plan to do regularly now. This has actually been a lot of fun to make. So whether you like the show or not, leave a comment, give it a like, a dislike, a share, whatever. All feedback is greatly appreciated. And maybe check out some of our other stuff. We have an awesome podcast about anything and everything. We also do a lot of Let's Plays. But either way, I've been Sam with the very first unscripted movie review, and until next time, au revoir.